Wikipedia, and today we will be adding a pause button to the LED scanner that we created in the previous tutorial. If you no longer have the scanner, I strongly suggest that you go back and re-watch that video and rebuild it, because we won't be rebuilding it in this tutorial and you will be quite far behind. So let's get started. So for today's tutorial, you will need, in addition to the scanner, an extra push button, 2 jumper wires and 1 more resistor. Push buttons, along with the things that we've been using so far in this series and will be using in the future of this series, can be purchased on adafruit.com. First, we have to add our push button to our scanner that we've already built. So if we look at this diagram, you can see that we've got the push button over the split between the two sides of the breadboard. This is so we do not confuse the pins. You can also notice that we're only using 2 pins today. It doesn't actually matter which 2. You can use those 2, or those 2. You can't use those 2, that doesn't work. We'll be using these 2 today. You then notice that on one of the pins we have a wire, jumper wire, going to the 5-volt pin in the power section of your Arduino board. And then on the other side we've got a jumper wire going to digital pin 2 in the digital section of your Arduino board. You can also see that we've got the resistor from this pin on the button going into the ground section that we've already got set up here from the previous tutorial, going to the ground pin in the power section on your Arduino board. Now all we have to do is add the new code to our previous code for our LED scanner. So if we take our previous code, it's pretty much the same for this tutorial, except we've got a couple of little changes, such as we no longer have the second delay. I took it out because we didn't really need it. And we've got a new variable, which is the button pin, which is just the digital pin 2, as you can see here. Void setup's pretty much the same. We've just given button pin a pin mode of an input, not an output, which is new for us. We haven't had an input yet. So this will mean that the Arduino board reads the information going in, so when the button's being pushed or has a high or low power, which I'll get to in a second. Void loop looks pretty much the same, except what we have now is called a while loop, which is basically a statement saying, well, while this is happening, so while the Arduino board can read that digital pin 2 is high, which means it's got power because it's connected to the 5-volt pin, so when you push the button it draws power from the 5-volt pin and gives the impression of it having a high power. So once it's high, you've got a delay of 1 second, and then you go back to you go back to the normal code, and then we repeat this in the second section that we had down here as well. And that's pretty much it. However, there is another variation of how you could do this code to get rid of all this. So if we go to here, you can see that we've changed LED count to 14 pins, and so this will make it scan backwards and forwards as well. We also lose this whole statement down here, which makes it go back the other way, because we've only got to go one way. So otherwise everything else is pretty much the same. If you want to do this, it's just a bigger array, and you cut down on the code that you have to type up. Both of these will be put in the code section of the Codepedia website, and you can get them from there. And yes, I think that's it. So we will upload it, and we will take a look. So as you can see here, we have our scanner scanning. But we also have the little push button here, and if we press it, you can see that it stops, stops, stops. Yes, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that fun stuff. And happy coding. Thanks for watching.